Hey, everybody. I don't even know what day it is. It's Wednesday, and things are on fire. And as you know, I've been talking about treasuries for a long time. Is anybody there? Testing 1, 2, 3. Hope you can hear me. Shout at me if you can't. But anyway, long day already. Can't believe it's only Wednesday. Anyway, let's get into treasuries. I've been talking about treasuries for a long time, and a lot of people are asking me questions of, well, what's going on? What's going on with wallets? Who's buying? Who's selling? How are the treasuries filling their boots? What's happening with EFTs? We'll try to break all that down today in great detail. And we'll try to get to the fact, probabilities around the strategic Bitcoin reserve from the US government, the impact of that on Bitcoin, and all the ancillary players around it. I'm trying to build the connective tissue around all the moving parts we see here. And boy, is it pretty incredible. Let's dig into it. Thank you, Sean D. TND Tesla K8. Crypto Cruiser, everybody from being here. Crypto Cruiser's everywhere all the time. I don't know how he does it. Anyway, let's get into the story. And boom, where do I put myself? I'm top left corner now, but I'll bounce around. So make sure you can see all the good stuff that we go through. This is the Treasury's price impact because of a study that was done by Bernstein, and a shout out to Cal, Exit the Matrix as well, who brought this to my attention. Andy in Australia, thank you for coming. And this is not financial advice, but it is a lot of modeling, which is also fun. And shout out to another Australian, Starman Jack. 3rd year as a Patreon, changed my life. Woohoo! Awesome. We have had a jolly good time. Let's just say that over the past couple of years. And I'm very grateful to be able to do this every day. Thank you, each and every one of you, once again, for putting up with me and uncovering alpha. First of all, let's get into the first story of the day. And shout out to Axel and Sanjay too, who got this to me right before I went live. And this is a cool study, okay? What these are is basically the lines of how long it's been. I'm going to turn my camera off, actually, so you can see the full picture. How long it's been since Bitcoin hit the all-time high. Going back in history, 2012, 2013, 2014, some action there, 2017, 2018, and then more action, 2021, 2022, and then 2024, 2025. Right now, it has been 141 days since we've seen an all-time high. Now, what's going to happen next? If we look at the history, 209, 188, 237, mid-bull run, what's going to happen next? The answer is, according to Axel, again, it's been 141 days since we've been at an all-time high. It's about $109,000 for Bitcoin. And based on the average number of days it historically takes to reach a new all-time high, which is 211 days, we are no more than 70 days away from hitting a new one, if the historic pattern holds. However, I believe, as does Axel, that the next all-time high will be reached a lot sooner than that. And the type of stuff that I'm going to show you will blow your mind. At least it blows mine, but I am pretty easily excited about data and stuff like that. So, first piece. Second, shout out to Scott Bessent. Okay, he is the Treasury Secretary of the United States. He's consider him like the banker of the United States. And he says, we believe that the United States should be the premier destination for digital assets. It is absolutely mind-blowing how crypto positive this administration is. And because I make videos about crypto and digital assets and disruption and AI every day for the last 4.5 years, I like that. Okay. So shout out to Scott. Good job. And this is kind of funny how things change so fast. Risk happens fast. 2 weeks ago to the day, I shared this chart. Okay. And it was a chart of where I said, I believe Bitcoin will soon jump to the 5th place on this chart after NVIDIA. Ahead of it at the time was names like Google and Silver. Google's also known as Alphabet. I said, this is silly. It's got to jump up there. And I was extremely bullish when everybody was pulling their hair out thinking the bull market was dead and over. I said, no, it's going to go up. 2 weeks later, boom, Bitcoin's at number 6. So it just slayed Silver and Google. And next in the box is Amazon, which is not that far away. If you compare the market caps, 1.994 trillion for Amazon, Bitcoin's at 1.915, and Bitcoin's volatile. And it could go a lot higher, a lot faster. So let's actually check out the real-time price of Bitcoin. As we speak, it is 96,346. It was at nearly 98,000 not too long ago. So it'll get it back up there, just a matter of time. And this is another little interesting tidbit. I will put myself in the top left so you can keep an eye on me. This is a fun story of how this is a platform called KuCoin. And what they notified people was, if I get the date right, June 28th, 2023, they said, we are going to have to KYC all our customers. A lot of people enjoyed using KuCoin because they didn't do that. And well, the funny thing about this, as you can see from CryptoQuant, KuCoin's Bitcoin reserves fell 77% in less than 360 days, from 18,300 Bitcoin to 4,100 Bitcoin. And this is all thanks to users voting with their wallets after KYC went live. The lesson from this is Bitcoiners do not like to give out their information nor fill out forms. They bounce. And that's a lesson for many out there that are concerned about privacy, etc. And that's also not the end of the story. People will be looking for different ways of being a Bitcoiner without governments, which sometimes overreach depending on where you are in the world. So let's move on. And Whale Panda had a question. Where is the Bitcoin supply coming from? And I get this question a lot, but it was nicely phrased, so I thought I would share it as well. You're not allowed to ask where Bitcoin supply is coming from. Bitcoin cleared 100K multiple times. Yes, that's true. And now for the last 2 weeks, it's stuck at 94,000 with the M2 exploding. Stocks up, gold up, 4 billion of ETF buys, 1 billion of Sailor buys, but you're not allowed to question it. Yes, you are. You have to question everything in this space. And remember, Bitcoin is at 75K a couple of weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And yes, it is, since it was down there, it was only a matter of time before it'd follow M2, global M2, and it's doing that. But you got to be patient. Now, the question you ask is, where is the supply coming from? Well, I had done all the work on exactly that in a video a few weeks ago, and I will share this again. This is where the supply comes from, everybody. You can look, all right? The Krills, less than 1 Bitcoin, they have sold. They've gone from 326,000 Bitcoin to 319,000. And this is between, by the way, August 2024 and April 2025. I do this every 6 months. Shrimp, 1.1 million to 1.07 million. They sold. Crab, 2.14 million to 2.09 million. They sold. Octopus fish, 4.36 million to 4.310 million. They sold. Dolphin, 4 million up to 4.6 million. They got it all. And that was the biggest stunning thing that I discovered out of this actual study. These dolphins, these are 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin holders, are grabbing it all with both hands. And my conclusion was, they are treasuries. They are not retail investors. A retail investor doesn't go willy-nilly and buy 100 Bitcoin or 1,000 Bitcoin, but treasuries do. And we'll talk about that. Crypto Cruiser, thank you. You're so much for being here and being part of Patreon too. Sharks, they sold 4.77 million down to 4.55 million. Whales, they sold 2.34 million down to 2.24 million. And humpback whales, they sold from 702,000 to 678,000. So when people ask, where is all the supply coming from? That's the answer, everybody. Not a mystery. You just need to do the work, and then you'll find the solution in the data every single time. And that's what we do here. So, moving on. Other good news. Shout out to people in Europe, because they use a thing called Revolut, which is a fintech giant, which has had colorful history. But breaking news from Bitcoin historian Pete Rizzo, $48 billion fintech giant Revolut is going to integrate the Bitcoin Lightning Network into their platform. And they have over 50 million users, which is great. And they're also pro-crypto, crypto-friendly. And they probably saw that when they found out that 15% of all the Bitcoin transactions on Coinbase were done using Lightning as well. So Lightning is, for the first time in a long time, really getting adopted, which is great for Bitcoin. Very awesome news. And what else? This is kind of the big story today. And again, inspired by Cal, who wanted me to run some numbers. Bernstein says Treasuries will buy $330 billion worth in Bitcoin. Okay. Alliance Bernstein now projecting public companies will buy $330 billion And 124 billion of that will come from MicroStrategy alone. Actually, if you extrapolate the rate at which MicroStrategy is buying, it's going to be a lot more than 124 billion if it continues. So, as usual, I decided to run some numbers and see what falls out of this actual analysis. And I do, before we get into the analysis, though, I do want to, oh dear, did I? No, I have the numbers. Good. I do have the numbers. I do want to share one thing, though. I've been talking about treasuries till I'm blue in the face for years and years and years. My third ever video was about MicroStrategy in 2020. But so far, 101 public companies now own 765,753 Bitcoin. And they are just getting started. Now, as I say, there'll never be more than 15 million Bitcoin because so many are lost or locked away forever. That means these treasury companies, which are just getting started, already own 5.1% of the supply. They are a formidable player. ETFs are bigger, but these groups are catching up fast, and that's why I am personally obsessed. And we'll talk about the connective tissue in a second and what's going on in my little brain, trying to weave together how all of these treasuries are tied to other entities and other initiatives, and why maybe Michael Saylor's been smiling since November. Thank you, Piper. So, first of all, we have this phenomenon called new whales. What are these new whales? Well, as you know, I analyze all the wallets, and I think all these new whales are treasuries. Okay, all that blue stuff, again, from Crypto Quant. Great charts. The old whales have kind of petered off, as we just broke down all the cohorts. That's so important to look at all this stuff. But there's a new bagger in town stacking Bitcoin like there's no tomorrow. And I believe they are the whales. Now, before we get back, another interesting phenomenon happened. We also have the ETFs that are buying Bitcoin like no tomorrow. What's even more stunning as well, the IBIT BlackRock Bitcoin ETF has pulled in more year-to-date money flow than gold, the gold ETF. And remember, the gold ETF is a lot larger, okay? But Bitcoin's bringing in a lot more money, and the year-to-date return for IBIT is only 4%, whereas 23% for gold. So that tells me it's only a matter of time before Bitcoin catches up. And that's why the chart I showed earlier, days to all-time high, will be less than historical. Thank you, Moto89 too. So this is all fun, but trust me, bear with me. I'm painting a complex picture here. Let's check out the Bitcoin action. Bitcoin is up 491% since the bottom of the bear. That's great, okay? But some people, and that was as of November 2022, some people want a lot more than a 6x. But a 6x is phenomenal, 5x, whatever you call it. It is pretty stunning, but people want more. But you know how you get more? MicroStrategy Bitcoin pair is up 431% in the same time frame. So this is a hard question for the kids at home watching. If you have one asset that goes up 491%, and then the other asset, which is MicroStrategy, compared to that asset going up 431%, how much did MicroStrategy go up over that same time frame? That is what melts faces. And that's what people still struggle with, even to this day. This chart here is the MicroStrategy Bitcoin pair on how MicroStrategy continues to outperform Bitcoin because people don't take the time to do the math and understand what they're doing. And the simple way to answer it is every time they buy Bitcoin, you are getting more sats per share. I will update my sats per share model and share it on Patreon within a day or two. Quite a bit of number crunching needs to go in there and historical research the number of shares at a given day and time, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, that's coming. But the point is, ever since, 2024, this pair has been far above the 200-day moving average, which is the red line. And if you look at the blue, that's the trend. The trend is up. It has not deviated. And the rampage that Michael Saylor has been on has been nothing short of mesmerizing. Anyway, moving on from that too. And I'm getting to a point here because I should have called this Treasuries Are It. It's like there used to be a store called Toys R Us. Should be Treasuries Are Us, Toys Are It, Treasuries Are It. I don't know. Anyway, it's been a long day already. Let's get into more of the story. Bernstein, this is the multiplier. Now, if I assume my multiplier from 2021, which coincidentally is 2021, which I backed into when Tesla bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. And remember, Bitcoin is a lot harder now than it was back then. If $330 billion comes in just from treasuries alone, times this multiplier, the impact on the market cap is about $7 trillion. And then the impact on the price per Bitcoin will take it up an additional 462,000, which would take the price to 560,000. So again, Bernstein said it could take another 3 or 4 years for this to happen. But the point is, easily, if the treasuries do buy this amount, and yes, there will be some profit taking along the way from the long-term holders, that is given, but the price should easily get to 560,000. If Bernstein is right, 330 billion comes in, I believe Saylor alone will do 150 billion, okay? And all the others that are coming are already committed to spending billions on Bitcoin, and we are so early. You take a 42 multiplier, which technically should be north of 90 or 80 given the hardness of the asset. It's going to be hard to stack a big bag of that many Bitcoin. But if that is the case, the impact on price would be 924K, which take the price to $1.022 million ahead of schedule, everybody. If the model works and if this money comes in, and of course, it also assumes that's the only buyer, not a sovereign entity, not a pension fund, etc., just treasuries. That's what makes this very, very mind-blowing. But let's talk about some more stuff that's happening behind the scenes. So, price targets for 2025. A lot of people want to know what's going on. This just came out. Shout again to Sanjay, who got this to me. Van Eck, their price target for 2025 is still 180,000. And they believe peak in Q4 after mid-year correction. I think we had our mid-year correction early, by the way, down to 75K. I don't know if we're going to get another one because the stacking is just accelerating from what I see. Bernstein, 200 grand, up from 150K due to very strong ETF flows. They should have said there as well, also due to treasuries, because this is a treasury game. No ifs, ands, or buts. This is Michael Saylor and all the copycats. That's it. Also, Joe Burnett from Unchained, 250K, cites Bitcoin's superior monetary properties. And he's probably also thinking about the lack of, how do I say, confidence in fiat around the world, which is fading fast. Okay. Carl is a krill. Let me see. Can you have a classification for someone who has none? Well, they don't exist. They're not even a speck of dust in the universe. But thank you for that question. So let's talk about this one too. Because what I've seen happen, despite all the treasury action, people are doubting the US Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Now, the odds of it happening this year are 47%. We just call it 50% chance of it happening in 2025. But what's going on really behind the scenes? And that's kind of what I want to get to. That's before I get into something that I uncovered. This, again, the ambitions to stack Bitcoin, and we have the Michael Saylor Bitcoin Treasury conference happening right now as we speak, or yesterday, the day before. But this is Europe's largest Bitcoin stacker treasury company, and they want to buy 1% of Bitcoin supply, and they have a plan out to 2033. But you can see here how many they plan to buy. Like this year, 3,000 Bitcoin. Next year, 15,000. 42,000 after that. 100,000 after that, etc. And then higher and higher. Obviously, the more you go out in time, the higher the price will be, the scarcer it'll be, the more it'll be adopted, the harder it'll be to stack that amount. So if they want to get there, they need to move fast. Again, if you're not first, you're last. And this is game theory in action, ladies and gentlemen. But TBG is now bringing kind of like Metaplanets and Michael Saylor, MicroStrategies to Europe. So shout out to the Europeans out there. Also, another player that just jumped into the ring. This is Vivek Ramaswamy, who is actually a former presidential candidate. He now has a company that he wants to build and looking to buy $1 billion in Bitcoin, a $2 billion strive. And again, starting with a $1 billion Bitcoin buy. Yet another player. Again, the average DCA for a retail investor is somewhere between 20 and 50 bucks a month, maybe up to 200 bucks a month. And you got one single player coming in and buying billions after Saylor's been buying billions, and you got TBG trying to buy billions, and you got all the other firms. You got CEP21 from Jack Mollers and Lutnick's of the world, all trying to buy. This is crazy because they know something. They know the game theory is on. They know this is a hard asset. All you need to do is move with force early and you will probably win. It's that simple. It's the easiest asymmetric bet that these guys can see. And they all know what's going on and they all smile a lot too. But then we had some breaking news today. Then all of a sudden, Strive merged with a company called ASST. This stock is probably on fire today. I haven't seen it in a while. Let me check. ASST, DDD. Yeah, it's up a lot today, like 455%. Because Strive said they will use this entity. It's kind of like a reverse merger to have a legal entity to bag all this Bitcoin. This is exactly, it's kind of like it's a non-SPAC maybe approach than what CEP did. But again, the story is about treasuries, but it goes deeper than that because this is the owner of Strive, Vivek, okay, with his co-founder Anson Frerichs, and financial backing from Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance. Okay, Peter Thiel is a top Silicon Valley VC, knows Bitcoin cold, has been in for a long time. So does J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance happens to be the vice president of the United States. There's no such thing as coincidence here, all right? Look at the players behind this company. Look at how connected they are. I'm going to go all the way back to, I think it's the third slide, maybe the fourth, fifth. This one. This is the banker of the United States. He believes that the United States should be the premier destination for digital assets. All right. So here we are. See, I'm trying to paint this complex tapestry. These same players, they all know what's happening from the top of the government down. They know what's coming. And that's why I believe Michael Saylor has been smiling since November, because he knows game theory is on. They're coming in force. Treasuries. Every day I hear about another treasury company. It's bonkers. We have arrived, everybody. Thank you for being patient with Bitcoin. So that's Strive, but there's more. They're trying to do something a little bit different to MicroStrategy. I'm just been digging into this company for the last hour or so. But SAM, I think it's Strive Asset Management, just reverse merged with a company called ASST. It's bonkers. But their unique angle, I think, is to focus on things like tax-free exchanges. Imagine that too. Bitcoin being tax-free. It's a currency. Should be. Maybe. They know tax-free status could be coming to Bitcoin. And they could use that in their entity as well. And they build structured leverage. They find a way to build a non-dilutive Bitcoin accumulation method. They want to build things like corporate bonds, new ways of financing debt, you name it, reverse mergers. Crazy bunch of stuff here that they want to do, which is kind of interesting. And they have the financial smarts to do this. Again, but keep your eye on that tax-free Section 351 piece, because that could be very, very interesting. And before I finish with meme of the day, everything is connected. There's no such thing as coincidence. All these treasuries are not happening because they think, you know what, let's just buy a little Bitcoin. No, they all know something big is coming. And I believe the SBR is coming too. And I think the odds are higher than 47% right now. Let's finish with meme of the day, which is kind of a fun one. And this kind of hits on a couple of different notes. It hits hard, but it's very difficult for young people to buy a house. But the good news is young people know to get into things like Bitcoin early. And this is the funny meme, which I thought was classic. And that is, if I have to pay a boomer 10x what he paid for his house, then he can pay me 1,000x what I paid for Bitcoin. And that is the power of disruption, everybody. Bitcoin moves much faster than real estate. Yes, real estate may seem expensive, but if you can get into disruption early, it can be very life-changing. So I'm leaving you with that kind of heavier than normal meme of the day to plant a seed in your minds. That's the way we escape the matrix, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you like the video. Hope you learned a couple of things today. And warning, this is a fun one, actually. I got to pull this up. It's hilarious. From Black Lace, warning, your family will hate you in 10 years. Yeah, from going to think you were a fool 5 years ago at Christmas dinner to now hating you. That could happen too. And thank you as well to the mods from Skipping Stones. And of course, I am Colt. Thank you as well. Samurai Cop, appreciate you all. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.